It's 2:17 a.m. Your phone lights up. Not a text from your daughter, not a weather alert, a margin notice, cold, automated final. And if you're thinking, that can't happen to me, listen closer, it already can. Because it doesn't start with you. It starts with the guy next door. It starts with the retiree who thought he was being careful. It starts with the couple who said, we'll hedge with gold, we'll sleep better. And then, while they sleep, someone else decides what better costs. Deposit additional funds. Or your position gets sold, right now, at the worst price, while you're still in pajamas. That's what just happened in gold and silver. And no, it wasn't because gold suddenly became useless. It was because paper got stressed, leverage got squeezed. And the system did what it always does when it gets scared. It demands cash. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your story. It takes cash from whoever can't fight back. Gold got hit. Silver got crushed. Not because the metal failed. Because the plumbing failed. Because the pipes that move money through Wall Street just change pressure. And weak joints burst. Here's the part the headlines won't tell you. This wasn't a normal pullback. This was a flush, a controlled burn, a trapdoor. A moment where the casino raised the price of staying at the table overnight. And right before the flush, the market got a political shock it wasn't ready for. Donald Trump named Kevin Warsh as his pick to lead the Federal Reserve. One announcement, one name. And suddenly, the room got quiet. Because markets don't just trade prices. They trade expectations, rates, the dollar, liquidity risk. And when expectations shift fast, leveraged trades get punished first. Gold and silver were crowded, packed, shoulder to shoulder. The sleeping herd saw shiny candles going up and stampeded in. The awakened few saw something else, a room full of borrowed confidence. And borrowed confidence ends the same way every time. It gets called back. Now listen, this isn't about whether you like Trump. This isn't about whether you like Warsh. This is about what happens when the people at the top change the rules in the middle of the game. Because they do, and they will. And if you don't understand the switch they pulled, you'll keep thinking you're safe right up until the moment you're not. So let's slow it down. Picture this. Imagine this. It's Friday afternoon. You're watching a green candle. You feel relief, finally. A little protection, a little breathing room. Then the candle snaps, straight down, no warning. You refresh. It's worse. You call your broker, recording. You call again, busy. Then the email arrives. Your position has been liquidated due to insufficient margin. No conversation, no mercy. Because the system is not built to protect you. It's built to protect itself. That's the first truth the herd refuses to accept. The system doesn't care that you're right. It only cares that you can pay. Now here's the mechanism, the thing nobody explains on cable news because it would expose the whole game. Margin. Margin is the down payment on a bet. Futures, options, leveraged ETFs, even metal accounts that claim you own ounces. Most of it is not metal. It's exposure, rented exposure. And rent goes up when the landlord gets nervous. In mid-January, CME, the biggest futures exchange in America, changed how it sets margins for precious metals. Instead of using fixed dollar amounts, it shifted to a percentage of the contract's value. That sounds technical. It isn't. It's a tripwire, because now the required cash can jump automatically when price moves, like a thermostat that suddenly cranks the heat to maximum. Your account is the house, margin is the heat, and the exchange can turn the knob whenever it wants. So when gold and silver spiked, the contract value jumped. When the contract value jumped, margin requirements jumped. And when margin requirements jumped, brokers started calling. That's the chain. No conspiracy required. Just rules, just math. And when the math says pay, the market doesn't ask how you feel. Now think about the retiree who bought paper gold thinking it was protection. He isn't a gambler in his mind. He's a protector, a builder, a man who watched 2008, a woman who watched groceries climb and never come back down, a couple who doesn't trust Washington. They think gold is insurance. Then the insurance policy calls and demands a higher premium today, or it cancels itself. That's margin. And that's why the sell-off felt like a guillotine. 1 minute you're safe. Next minute you're forced to sell safety to raise cash. It's like being on the Titanic. The ship hits ice, and the crew starts auctioning lifeboats to pay for repairs. Absurd, evil. But when systems break, absurd becomes normal. Now, timing matters, because timing tells you if something is random or engineered by the structure. First, the margin rule shift set the stage. Then, late January, the Warsh nomination hit the tape. You can debate what Warsh means. Hawk, dove, independent, political. It doesn't matter. The market doesn't wait for certainty. It trades fear. And fear does one thing. It tightens liquidity. It makes lenders pull back. It makes big funds reduce risk. And when big funds reduce risk, They sell what they can, not what they want. Say it again. They sell what they can, not what they want. In a squeeze, nobody chooses to sell gold. They use it like an ATM. They grab cash. Because the true safe haven in a panic isn't gold. It's liquidity. Cash. Temporary. Dirty, but demanded. So leveraged metal positions get dumped to satisfy margin calls. Those dumps push price down. The price down triggers more margin calls. More calls trigger more dumping. A spiral, a drain, a bathtub with the plug ripped out. Now, if you stop the story here, you miss the real danger, because the metals flush is not the main event. It's the preview, it's the trailer. The real movie is what happens when the system needs more than cash, when it needs control, when it needs compliance, when it needs you to spend the way they want, or not spend at all. That's when the future gets ugly. And yes, this is where the herd gets uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is your early warning system. Imagine this. You walk into your bank, calm, polite. You ask to move a chunk of money, to help your grandson, to buy a truck, to put a down payment on a small place near your kids. The teller smiles and says, that will take 7 to 10 business days. You laugh. You think it's a mistake. Then she lowers her voice. New policy. You ask why. She shrugs. Compliance. That word. Compliance. A blanket word. A weapon word. Because it means you don't get to argue. It means the system is doing something for your safety. And if you complain, you sound guilty. Now imagine this. You go to fill up gas. Your card declines. Not insufficient funds. Transaction not permitted. You call the number. A robot tells you it's temporary. Temporary becomes normal. Normal becomes permanent. That's how control grows. Quiet, then sudden. Now, to be fair, a full central bank digital currency is still debated in the US, but don't let that lull you. Even without a CBDC, the system already has a terrifying amount of control. Banks can freeze, apps can block, transfers can delay, limits can shrink, and you learned something important during this metals liquidation. When rules change, they change fast. Overnight. Without your vote. Without your permission. Now let's drop the hammer on the math. Because this isn't about one crazy weekend. It's about a debt machine that cannot stop. The US interest bill keeps climbing, hundreds of billions just to service old promises, and total US debt is closing in on $40 trillion. That's not drama, that's a mountain of paper promises, and every promise has a cost, interest. So here's the corner the system is trapped in. If rates stay high, interest explodes. If rates go low, the dollar bleeds. If they print to cover it, purchasing power burns. There is no painless exit, only different flavors of pain. This isn't a theory, this is math. Now make it visual. The government is a man with a credit card. Maxed out. He keeps opening new cards to pay the old cards. He tells you, it's fine. He smiles. But every month, the minimum payment grows. So what does he do? He doesn't cut the vacations. He doesn't sell the toys. He asks you for help. Taxes, fees, inflation. And if you resist, he calls it patriotism. That's the trap retirees fall into. They think the threat is the stock market. No, the threat is the currency. Because stocks can recover. A currency that loses trust doesn't recover the same way. It rots. Slow, then sudden. Now, here's the part that will shock you if you've never lived through a true liquidity crisis. In a real squeeze, everything gets sold. Not because everything is bad, because cash is demanded. Funds sell winners to pay for losers. They sell liquid things to cover illiquid things. They dump what can be dumped. That's why you can see gold fall in the same week the world looks unstable. It's not a contradiction. It's a margin event. It's a cash event. It's the system grabbing oxygen. Now let's talk about the biggest lie in modern safe haven marketing. The lie is that exposure equals ownership. It doesn't. A ticker symbol is not a coin. A statement is not a bar. A promise is not possession. A promise has an enemy. Counterparty risk, 2 words that decide who survives. Counterparty risk means your wealth depends on someone else doing the right thing. A bank staying open, a broker staying solvent, a custodian actually holding what they claim, a fund allowing redemptions, a website letting you log in, a server staying online. In a real crisis, someone else becomes your prison guard. And prison guards don't open doors when there's panic outside. They lock them. Now you might be thinking, okay, so what do I do right now? Good. That's the question the herd never asks until it's too late. Here's the framework. Simple. Brutal. Audit what you own, not what your app says, what you own. If your gold is a ticker, ask one question. Can you take delivery? If not, you have exposure, not possession. If your silver is in an unallocated account, ask one question. Is it segregated and titled to you? If not, you are a creditor, and creditors get promises. Owners get metal. Now, I'm not telling you to panic buy. Panic makes you sloppy. Panic makes you chase. Panic makes you pay top dollar for bottom quality products. I'm telling you to prepare like an adult, like someone who has seen enough to know the world doesn't always behave. Because here is what's coming next, and you need to visualize it. Imagine this. The next sell-off isn't in metals. It's in bonds, pension funds, safe retirement products stuffed with government paper. The value drops, not because you did anything wrong, because rates move, because confidence moves, because the market finally asks, who pays this bill? And then, like dominoes, the stress spreads. Banks tighten lending, businesses cut hours, layoffs climb, tax revenue falls. The government prints more, prices rise more, and the retiree living on fixed income gets squeezed from both sides. Your check stays the same. Your costs rise. That's how they take from you without taking. Silent confiscation. Inflation. Now, let's talk about the real reason the system hates gold and silver. Not because they're shiny, because they're honest. Gold and silver are a report card. They show what the currency is doing. They expose the lie. So the system tries to control the report card. It pushes paper. It promotes paper. It creates 1,000 ways to own metal without touching metal. Because paper can be diluted. Paper can be rehypothecated. Paper can be stacked on top of paper. And in calm times, it looks fine. In storm times, it snaps. That's what you just saw. A snap. Now, here's an uncomfortable truth. The people who got liquidated weren't all reckless. Many were trying to protect themselves. But the system is designed to punish the method, not the motive. It punishes leverage. It punishes crowds. It punishes anyone who assumes the rules are stable. They aren't. Rules are tools. Tools for them. Now let's hit the emotional core. Because if you're 60 or 70, you don't have 20 years to wait it out. You don't want a 10-year recovery. You want stability. You want sleep. You want to know that if the market goes crazy, you can still buy food and fuel and medicine. That is the standard, not beating the S&P. Survival, freedom, control. So when we talk about physical metal, we're not talking about getting rich. We're talking about reducing the number of doors between you and your wealth, because every door can be locked. Banks are doors, brokerages are doors, funds are doors, apps are doors, and in a crisis, doors close. Physical gold and silver are different. They have no CEO, no shutdown, no maintenance. No, please try again later. A coin is a coin, a bar is a bar. Quiet wealth, stubborn wealth, the kind of wealth that doesn't care about opinions. Now, will the price swing? Yes. That's normal? That's noise. The signal is what matters. And the signal is this. If you just watched gold and silver get liquidated, you just watched how fragile paper protection can be. You just watched how quickly the system can demand cash. You just watched how fast rules can tighten. So ask yourself a simple question. When the next shock hits, and it will, do you want your protection to be something that can be margin called, or something you can hold? Now zoom out one last time. We have a debt machine. We have rising interest costs. We have political fights over the Fed. We have more control technology being debated and built. We have a population that's exhausted. And we have retirees sitting on life savings that took 40 years to build. That's the bullseye, not Wall Street. You. Because you have assets, and the system needs assets. So it will keep doing what it always does. It will manufacture reasons. It will create emergencies. It will offer solutions. And those solutions always come with strings. Now, don't let anyone calm you down with the words insured and protected, because those words can be a sedative. FDIC sounds like a shield, but it has a ceiling. $250,000 per depositor, per FDIC insured bank, per ownership category. That's it. If you have more than that in one place, you are trusting the same building that can catch fire. SIPC sounds like another shield. Up to $500,000 if a brokerage fails and securities are missing, with a cash limit inside that. But SIPC does not protect you from markets falling. It does not protect you from inflation. It does not protect you from the dollar shrinking. Now, that's like having fire insurance while your house is sliding into the ocean. Wrong disaster, wrong protection. And when panic hits, the government doesn't write checks with love. It writes checks with conditions, forms, delays, processing. Meanwhile, your bills don't wait, your stomach doesn't wait, your medicine doesn't wait. That's why "I'm covered" can be the most dangerous sentence a retiree ever says. So what does the awakened person do? They don't panic, they don't gamble. They prepare. They diversify out of promises. They reduce counterparty risk. They keep some wealth in things that have survived every government experiment in history. Gold, silver, real, physical. You're probably wondering if the price is fake. Paper can bully price short term, but it can't delete reality. Debt piles up, trust cracks, and hard assets get rediscovered. So here's your action step. Tonight, not someday. Write down every place your wealth lives: bank, broker, retirement account, money market. Insurance, cash value. Ask, who controls this? Then ask, what happens if they change the rules? If that question tightens your chest, good. That's clarity. Then start building lifeboats in a way that can't be margin called, in a way that can't be frozen with a click, in a way that doesn't require permission. Because the best time to buy a lifeboat is not when the deck is already tilting. Now, if you want to survive what's coming, subscribe to Bull and Bear. Not for entertainment, for preparation. Because the sleeping herd will keep trusting headlines. They'll keep trusting guarantees. They'll keep trusting people who smile on TV. And when the next flush happens, they'll stare at their screen in disbelief. The awakened few will already be holding the keys. One last thought. When the system gets desperate, it doesn't ask. It takes. And the only wealth it can't easily take is the wealth you already removed from its hands.